This is the Locked On Jets podcast on this Sunday evening. I'm your host, John B. from GangGreenNation.com. This is a daily podcast covering the New York Jets. If you're new to the show, we have new episodes each day through the week, Monday through Friday. And it's Sunday evening, which must mean we're breaking down the Jets' loss. And it shows you how dumb I am, because there were actually long stretches of Sunday afternoon, including the final minute of regulation, where I thought we were actually going to break down a Jets win for the first time in over a month. And all I can say to start is, to you tank commanders out there, to the people who want the Jets to lose for better draft position, congratulations. There's no right or wrong way to be a fan. I know there are some great Jets fans who want to see this team lose to improve their draft positions. Congratulations. I'm not one of them. To you Jets fans who are just kind of checked out this season, who don't really feel anything after this loss, I know how you feel. I've felt that way through most of the season. This was a game that brought me back. So I'm here today to talk to the Jets fans who are frustrated by this performance. And I think back to a comment. It was a famous remark in a post-game press conference an NFL coach gave 21 years ago. The coach's name was Bill Callahan, who has made a career as a phenomenal offensive line coach. He actually was the Jets offensive line coach for a stretch under Rex Ryan. Excellent offensive line coach, but was really not much of a head coach during his time with the Oakland Raiders. The Raiders actually went to the Super Bowl the first year when he had John Gruden's players, but they fell apart the second season with Callahan, and he was fired after that season. After one game during that second season where he got fired, where the Raiders were one of the worst teams in the NFL, Callahan declared that we are the dumbest team in America. And watching this game late in the fourth quarter, you could come to no other conclusion than that the Jets are the dumbest situational football team in America, because this game was won. If the Jets play competent football in the final 75 seconds of regulation, their odds of winning this game are very high, because they had the ball at the Miami 27-yard line with 1:14 left, and the Dolphins only had 2 timeouts. So you had a very makeable field goal. You were in range for that. You could have run the clock down. The Dolphins should have gotten the ball back with less than 30 seconds left, no timeouts. This game should have been over. Well, what happened? The Jets set up a long developing run play to the outside to Isaiah Davis that lost 5 yards. Timeout Miami. Aaron Rodgers just takes a horrific sack for a 6-yard loss. Timeout Miami. And look, Aaron Rodgers is 41 years old. He's got to understand situational football. And again, Aaron Rodgers in this game wastes 2 timeouts because he loses track of the play clock. Of all the things that have gone wrong for this team this season, and of all the things Aaron Rodgers has done bad, the most inexplicable are the stupid ways he plays, the losing track of the play clock and taking a sack in the situation where the 2 things you can't do. There are 2 things you can't do, not one. One is you can't throw an interception. 2 is you can't take a sack. Then Rodgers hits a nice ball to Devontae Adams on the sideline, a back shoulder throw, but Adams goes out of bounds to stop the clock when the Dolphins are out of timeouts. And, if he just goes down in bounds, the Jets are going to be able, again, to run the clock down. The Dolphins will get the ball back with, 20 seconds left and no timeouts. So Andrew Carlson does hit the field goal after that. So despite all that, the Jets are up with 52 seconds left, but they allow a big kickoff return. They allow a 45-yard kickoff return by Malik Washington. Then they allowed the Dolphins to drive 20 yards. Jason Sanders hits a 52-yarder to send it to overtime. Dolphins win the coin toss, go right down the field, 70 yards in 8 plays. 3 straight screens, two of which were the exact same play. Tight end screen to Jonnu Smith, which produced big results. And you think about this Jets season. You think about how miserable it's been. You think about all the losses in close games. And look, when you have a 2-7 record in 1-score games as the Jets do, there's some bad luck involved. There are situations where maybe there's a call that didn't go your way. Maybe there's a situation where the ball didn't bounce your way on a fumble. And these things have happened for the Jets this year. They've had some bad breaks. They've had some bad bounces of the ball. But one of the biggest reasons the Jets are 2-7 is just how stupid they are as a team. And I don't know if there's any other way to put it, because this is a team that just plays really, really dumb situational football and really dumb football overall. Jets, another 10 penalties today. You can quibble about a couple of them. There was a DJ Reed pass interference that looked a little shaky. There was, Quinnen Williams roughing the passer, which was kind of a tap where he was trying to let up, but just dumb penalty after dumb penalty. And, on some level, it doesn't matter how talented you are. And to be fair, this Jets team does not have the talent level that they said they did. This team pumped itself up as a team with Super Bowl talent. It does not have that talent. It also doesn't have 3-10 talent, though. It's about more than talent. Sometimes it's about how smart you play. Sometimes it's about doing the little things. And this Jets team just does none of the little things, because this was a game that, by all accounts, the Jets probably should have won. In many ways, the Jets outplayed Miami. This was probably Aaron Rodgers' best performance as a Jets quarterback. because he was really good from start to finish in this game. It was maybe the first time all year that Rodgers seemed comfortable in the pocket and willing to let things develop down the field and letting it fly downfield. He looked something approaching the old Green Bay Aaron Rodgers in this game. And the Jets defense, it wasn't spectacular, but up to that last drive, I think they executed their game plan pretty well. I think this was pure bend but don't break. And up until the last drive of regulation, they performed it well. They prevented the killer 70-yard touchdown against these speedy Miami receivers. For the most part, they held Miami out of the end zone, and then it all falls apart. We've talked about this team's lack of mental toughness a lot through the course of this season. Well, in this game, we also saw another one of the issues the Jets have, another one of the issues that makes them lose all these close games, just the terrible situational football that they play. And that's how you get to 3-10 with a roster that maybe doesn't have Super Bowl talent on it, but a roster that certainly should not be 3-10. And I mean, as much as the Jets have blown games this year, and I should be used to it, and I am used to it, and I should be past the point where I'm angry because this team, we've known for a long time this team was going nowhere. And that no lead's ever safe with this team. After Anders Carlson kicks that field goal, I'm saying, okay, the Jets are going to win this game. Finally, one of these one-score games goes our way. But you look back at how they got there. When they had a chance to bleed the clock, they had a chance to run the clock to practically zero, leave Miami no time. They didn't do it. They had three really big mistakes. The outside run call, which, when Miami's selling out against the run, he can't have long developing run plays. The Rodgers sack, which is incomprehensible, and then Adams not staying in bounds. And then they allowed the big kickoff return. I mean, you need a kickoff return. You need to stop them on the kickoff. And then, as always, the defense cannot get the big stop. The defense, as has happened over and over, I think this is the fourth time this season, allows 2 scores, not one, but 2 scores to lose a game late in the fourth quarter. And this one headed into overtime. Now, here on the Locked On Jets podcast, we'll talk about the larger term implications of this game. Now, I think we knew the Jets were not going anywhere this season, but now they are officially not going somewhere. We'll talk about that, and we'll talk about how things shook out the rest of this week 14 as we continue here on the Sunday edition of Locked On Jets. Tonight's episode of Locked On Jets is brought to you by Hillsdale College. Time is our most precious commodity, so don't waste it scrolling through the same mind-numbing content for hours and hours. How can you spend it wisely to improve yourself? Well, our sponsor, Hillsdale College, is offering more than 40 free online courses, including Constitution 101, the meaning and history of the Constitution, Introduction to Free Market Economics, The Great American Story, A Land of Hope, and the Rise and Fall of the Roman Empire. If Hillsdale ever creates a class on game management in the NFL, I'd pay for that. I mean, forget about free. I'd pay to send all the Jets coaches and players to it because they certainly need it. Well, all of Hillsdale's courses are self-paced, so you can start whenever and tune in wherever. Plus, you can go deeper with readings, quizzes, discussions, or just enjoy the lectures. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. There's no cost, and it's easy to get started. That's hillsdale.edu/lockedon to register. hillsdale.edu/lockedon. Tonight's episode of Locked On Jets is also brought to you by Prize Picks. If you love watching the game, you're going to love Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy. Whether it's football, basketball, or any of your favorite sports, Prize Picks makes your holidays bigger and brighter. Here's why you need to check it out. You can now win up to 200 times your money on Prize Picks. Plus, this holiday season, they're giving away $30+ million in rewards during Pickmas and offering 2 free picks in December. And when your picks hit, Prize Picks makes it easy to cash out. You can get your money in as fast as 15 minutes. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after your first $5 lineup. That's right, $50 instantly on the Prize Picks app when you use code LOCKEDONNFL. It's one word with no space, LOCKEDONNFL, when you play just $5. Prize Picks, run your game. This is the Locked On Jets podcast on this Sunday evening. The New York Jets fall to the Miami Dolphins in Miami in overtime. We could call it a heartbreaker, 32-26. I think a lot of the fan base has already checked out on the season, and I envy you because I felt like I was one of you up until this game, up until the Jets managed to blow yet another game. I know there's a segment of the fan base that's happy, so congratulations. You probably don't need to hear my analysis. You're probably celebrating if you want the Jets to lose for better draft picks, but with this loss, what we've known for a long time has become official. The Jets have officially been eliminated from playoff contention. The Jets are out heading into Week 15. They are 3-10 right now. So here's some amazing things. Think about last year's Jets team with Zach Wilson and Trevor Siemian and Tim Boyle at quarterback. You remember how bad that situation was. Remember the offensive line, what a mess that was, starting with Dwayne Brown at left tackle, Mekhi Becton, all the random practice squad guys they had to throw in at various points of the season. I mean, think about how bad that team was. That team was actually still alive in its Week 15 game. They weren't eliminated until Week 15 was over last year. That team also went 7-10. Now, that team had there's a lot of revisionist history already on the 2023 Jets. A lot of people say, "Oh, they went 7-10 with Aaron Rodgers. That was really impressive." Now, if you remember that team, they were 5-10. They beat Miami. They beat Washington, who picked second in the NFL draft. And then they beat New England, who picked third in the NFL draft, their final 3 games of the season. And that's not to mention, the wild games that they won early in the season. I mean, game against Buffalo that they won that they really didn't have much business winning. A game against Philadelphia they won that they really didn't have much business winning. Game against the Giants they certainly didn't have much business winning. The team was very fortunate to get to 7 wins. But compare that to this year's team. I think by most accounts, especially with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, the expectations were higher. And the team is objectively a better team. That offensive line has been pretty good, and this may have been their best game of the season. As I mentioned, it really felt like the first time all year, like Aaron Rodgers was comfortable in the pocket. Like he wasn't just trying to get rid of the ball as soon as he got it. He was standing tough. He was actually moving a little. I mean, where was this? Where's this been? Where's all these movement skills been? He actually was dancing around a little bit. Like every episode, I'm telling you, Aaron Rodgers is immobile, and he has been. Today, he was actually moving pretty well. So just think about this. I mean, think about the star power on this team. And again, I am of the belief that this talent was overrated heading into the season. I think that's indisputable. But still, this should have been a much better team than last year. However, last year's Jets team was alive heading to Week 15. This year's Jets team's eliminated. Want to hear something else that's crazier? The 2024 Jets need to win out to match last year's win total. The Jets need to win their last 4 games. Otherwise, they will win less than last year's Zach Wilson, Tim Boyle, Trevor Siemian quarterback team. And this is with Aaron Rodgers not missing a start to this point. Now, that could change going forward. But Aaron Rodgers started every game to this point. And the Jets are in position where it's almost a certainty they are going to win less games this season than last season. And incredibly, we are now looking at draft order. We are now in draft position mode for the New York Jets on December 8th, 2024. We were talking at the start of the season, is this team a contender? Is this just a wild card team? That's how we were talking at the start of the season. Let's let this sink in for a minute. Just what a colossal disappointment this team has been. And in some ways, this game's a good microcosm of the disappointment with the Jets, because this loss was not because Miami was a more talented team, although they probably are. This loss was because the Jets are just a collection of players. They're not a team. They don't play smart. They don't play good situational football. They're a team that deserves to be 3-10 right now. I don't know any other way to say it. Jets got a little help. Now we're looking at draft order. Jets entered the weekend with the 7th pick in the draft. There's going to be some adjustments as games continue this weekend. Jets did get a little bit of help with Jacksonville winning, and you hope with Jacksonville coming up next weekend, maybe Jacksonville gets on a little bit of a roll. Maybe that helps the Jets along their way. If the Jaguars can start playing good football, maybe they beat the Jets next weekend. If you're a tank commander looking at draft positioning, you want the Jets to lose. That Jacksonville game next weekend becomes big, because whoever loses that game, is ahead of the other team in draft order. If the Jets lose to Jacksonville, they're ahead of the Jaguars. If the Jaguars lose to the Jaguars are ahead of the Jets in draft order. So that's something worth watching. But it's just amazing how far this team has fallen this year. It's amazing that this is the position we're in. I mean, I think even if you were a skeptic of this team, even if you weren't sure how good they'd be, I don't think anybody had this team at 3-10. I don't think anybody thought that on December 8th, we'd be talking about draft position, because the Jets are the 4th team out in the AFC. It's a 16-team conference. There's 7 of the 16 teams make the playoffs this year. To not even be in the race with 4 games out, that shows you're absolutely one of the bottom teams in the NFL. And again, we have Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, and we know the struggles Aaron Rodgers has had today notwithstanding. Well, it's what happens when you have a team that plays like this. It's a collection of players. It's not a team. And that's how you get to 3-10, and that's how you're out before December 9th. It's how you're out before Week 15. And it's how you're a team that was pegged to do such great things, and yet you're in this position. Anyway, that's all for this Sunday edition of Locked On Jets. We'll be back tomorrow with our regular show. We'll talk more about this loss. We'll talk more about longer-term implications for the Jets. We can't wait to talk to you then. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. And if you're a tank commander, celebrate. If you're checked out, I'm sure you'll enjoy your night. And if you're like me, well, try and find something fun tonight to take your mind off the game. We'll chat tomorrow.